Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our program Srimad Bhagavatam study. Today we will continue our discussion on the third chapter. We will conclude this chapter. In the previous class, last Sunday, we started this discussion. We wanted to complete it that day itself, but could not do it. Today we will complete the discussion. We will start from 19th verse and all the way go to the 25th verse. That will conclude the third chapter. And then we will try to recite or complete some few verses of the fourth chapter today. So the title of chapter 3 is Pure Devotional Service, the Change of Heart. Overall, this is our 59th class. Let us begin with Mangalacharan prayers. Jivan Prabhuji, please go ahead with the Mangalacharan prayers. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Sharakaya Chakshururmilatam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishavamcha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Sanjeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakatanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vacha Kalpa Tarubhyacha Kripa Sindhibhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Ashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Okay, now we move to the next part of the class, which is the recap of the previous class. Actually, previous class was a quiz. So we are talking of the previous class, which is the 57th class. And would like to invite Ishwar Prabhuji from Rohtak, Dr. Ishwar Singh Ji. Prabhuji, please help us to recap the 57th class.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Happy Guru Purnima to all, to you and all the respected colleagues and devotees for Srimad Bhagavatam class. This chapter 3 is a very significant one from the point of view of transcendence, because it deals with the subject of pure devotional service. Although Vasudevan Prabhu and your good self have considerably given us considerable efforts and explained things in a great detail about some of the verses, it would be interesting and wise if we repeat some bit of it in today's class also. As we know that we humans are born lucky and really gifted with profound opportunities to solve our problems of birth, old age, disease, death, and other recurring miseries through this special gift to us. The resurrection of human beings is entirely possible if we heed the most authentic Vedic literature, that is Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Puranas, etc., and follow their edicts and dictates. Going by our current state of study, we know for sure that an intelligent person, whether he has no desires or he is full of desires or he desires liberation, that is, maybe is working in a kama spirit or moksha spirit, must worship Purushottama, the supreme personality of Godhead only. Worshipping demigods, though beneficial and real, is incomplete, and it requires fortification through efforts of other pure devotees, and finally it needs sanction from Lord Almighty. So it's a temporary and you can say part-time things to hold on to. The highest, and we also know for sure that Gita is best understood in the company of pure devotees. So devotees are a great thing to be with. The highest perfectional benediction comes through unflinching attention fixed upon personality of the Lord Sri Krishna. Being part and parcel of the supreme whole, Purusham Purnam, we have a natural propensity to serve the supreme being. We only need to be conscious of this innate reality and position ourselves in a manner that we desire satisfaction only from serving the Supreme Lord, not the mighty demigods, who at best can fulfill our material needs, or maybe they enhance some bit of our inclination towards altruism, philanthropy, etc. The bottom line is happiness of the Lord must always be our main focus while dealing in worldly matters. Now, moving on to verse 12, which says, even Jnanis and demigod worshippers take to bhakti in the end. How it is? Bhakti Yoga, being the only means of God realization, is called Kaivalya Pantha. It begins with Shravanam or hearing Hari Katha, leading on to attaining transcendental knowledge and developing detachment from all mundane topics. In a mature state, the devotee becomes uninterested in his own body, does not feel agitated by the waves and whirlpools of material modes. In such a lofty state, the devotee may act as a voluntary preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all his activities into devotional service. That is Kavalya affairs, we can call it. And now we move on to verse 13, where we come to the end of theme 1 in chapter 3 and the level 2 conversation. Now, in the level 1 conversation is between Suta Goswami and sages of Naimisaranya, where Sonika Rishi inspires Suta Goswami to speak more and more. Sonika Rishi told his audience, the sages of Naimisaranya, that Sukdev Goswami, son of Vyasadeva, was a highly learned, self-realized sage whose recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam was his highest poetic contribution. He was a poet among the sages. If Chaitanya Charitamrita is to be heeded, a pure devotee has some 26 prominent features, of which to be a poet is quite an important one. The other important features which a pure devotee possesses, that is kind, clean, mild, peaceful, truthful, equable, faultless, magnanimous, non-possessive, a well-wisher of all, he is satisfied, surrendered to Krishna, without hankering, simple, then self-controlled, he is a balanced eater, he is sane and mannerly, he is prideless, grave and sympathetic and very friendly. These are some of the things which a pure devotee usually shows off. Moving to verse 14, uh, uh, feeling greatly influenced and moved by Suta Goswami's description of Sukadeva Goswami and Lord Krishna's qualities, Sonka Rishi implored him to continue talking and narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam as heard from Sukadeva Goswami. All the sages in Naimisharana were really eager and felt spellbound on hearing the topics which brought out discussions of Lord Hari and his activities and pastimes. Such topics are always welcome and listened to often in the assembly of devotees. Such great gatherings are always full of Paramhamsas who, like swans, are capable of fetching meat out of a mixture of milk and water. Coming to verse 16, where Konka continuing further described Maharaja Parikshit, the grandson of the venerated Pandavas, a great devotee of the Lord since childhood. He used to worship the Lord even while playing with dolls and imitating the deities. And the same was the situation with Sukadeva Goswami, who too happened to be a typical renouncer in the world sense. He was a naked fakir. Though the two devotees were poles apart in matters of worldly matters, yet they were fully congruent in matters of devotional service. And when two such giant devotees come together, there can be no other topic except discussion on Bhakti Yoga. Devotion of Vasudeva is the common factor in all the pure devotees. Now, coming to verse 17, a further discussion by Sonka Rishi now shifts the focus on the ill effects of not having Harikatha. The verse indirectly confirms the great importance of utilizing the human form of life to realize our lost relationship with the Supreme by accelerating of devotional service. Time and tide wait for none, as both by rising and by setting the sun decreases the lifespan of all of us except those who utilize their time discussing topics of all good personality of Godhead. Seeking happiness is natural to living entities. Seeking it in materialistic life is a total vain. As Bhagavad Gita puts it and confirms, endeavors in devotional service are never baffled nor they fail. Death is a symptom of material infection, which, when not countered well through devotional service, brings into play the law of birth, death, old age, and disease to a living being. On the other hand, moments spent in association of pure devotees by hearing and chanting the Lord's transcendence is a perfect recipe for having eternal life and returning back to Godhead. Coming to verse 18 and 19, adding to the list of ill effects faced by non-devotees, Sonika gives analogy of trees, willows, and beasts. He said, consider, my dear friends, dear sages, do the trees not live? Do the willows of blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat, mate, and discharge semen? The humans must take heed to this. The humans must live like intelligent humans, having much to do with God consciousness, always and ever. How having deep spiritual values and enhancing them through bhakti and associating with pure devotees is the key to avoid living a life uh, of dogs, hogs, and camels and asses, to say the least. God, godless leaders of present society are men and women, they are even bigger and stronger animals than the animals themselves. The present day world he's trying to. With this we come. That's all for me for this evening. Hare Krishna to everybody. Thanks for giving me your ears. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ishwar Prabhu. Thank you very much for your wonderful explanation, elaboration on the class number 57, which was based on verse number 12 till verse number 18 of chapter 3 of the second canto. Very nicely explained. So with that, we continue our discussion for today. We will complete this third chapter. Only last 4 or 5 verses are remaining, so we will quickly finish them. Now you see what you see on your screen is the overview map of the third chapter. Only 2 themes have been discussed: demigod worship versus pure devotional service. And then Shaunaka Rishi inspires Sud Goswami to speak. So what has happened so far in this second canto? In the second canto, Shukdev Goswami is now start to respond to the Parikshit Maharaj question. Parikshit Maharaj asked, what is the duty of a person in general? And what is the duty of a person who is about to die? And then Shukdev Goswami answers those questions in the first 3 chapters, more or less. While he answers those questions in the first 3 chapters, he also kind of elaborates a little bit on the Ashtanga Yoga process, because many sages in that Naimisharanya, many sages in that assembly were also Ashtanga Yogis. So in order to establish the superiority of Bhakti Yoga, Shukdev Goswami elaborates a little bit on the Ashtanga Yoga also. So by 1 and 2nd chapter, 1st and 2nd chapter of the second canto, this was the discussion. And when we enter this third chapter, Shukdev Goswami also briefly elaborates on the process of demigod worship and compares it with the pure devotional service. So he gives that explanation in first 12 verses, clearly establishing the superiority of pure devotional service and suggesting that demigod worship is something which is more towards those people who are more inclined towards material, enjoying materialistic pleasures of life, but through religious means. So that has been the discussion. And after doing that much discussion, Shukdev Goswami stops, and now the conversation which was going on between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj zooms out. Zooms out means that this conversation actually was started in another conversation between Sut Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. So original discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam was between Sut Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. And while that discussion was going on, then the discussion between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj started to get attention by Sut Goswami. And now the discussion has come back original to Sut Goswami and sages of Naimisharanya. So now what happens is, in that discussion between Sut Goswami and sages of Naimisharanya, Shaunaka Rishi now stands up, because all the previous questions that were asked by Shaunaka Rishi, sages of Naimisharanya, have been answered by Sut Goswami so far. So whatever the set of questions have been asked, have already been answered. Now Shaunak Rishi stands up and says, "Sir, can you please give us a little more explanation about what happened between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj?" Shukdev Goswami is a pure devotee. Parikshit Maharaj has been a devotee from childhood. Now, when two devotees will meet, I am sure there would have been a lot of discussion about Harikatha. A lot of Harikatha would have flown in that assembly, in that meeting. So, please, can you elaborate a little bit more? And then Shaunak Rishi starts to uh, elaborate, glorify the Harikatha in a way that which is a little negative in nature. Negative means is now giving examples of people who don't deal with Harikatha and what their life would like without Harikatha and so on. So that Dr. Ishwar just now explained, life of a animal or a bellow of a blacksmith or a tree, a long living tree and so on. So in the previous class, we discussed this in the 18th verse. Now in the 19th verse, we only discussed a little bit, only the translation of the verse we discussed. But today we will go a little bit further into this discussion. So before we start, may I request some devotees to give their names so that we can request them to recite the verses, read the screen, etc. Anyone would like to volunteer?
I will do, Prabhuji.
Rakesh ji. Okay, Rakesh ji. Anyone else? Maybe one more person might help.
I can do that, Prabhuji.
So we have Jivan Prabhu as well. Okay.
And I also, Prabhuji.
Okay, this is Vrindavaneshwari Mother. Right?
Vrindavaneshwari.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, Mother. Okay. So Rakesh ji, please read the words. This is in Anushtup meter. I will recite and then you can recite together with me. Shvavit varahashtra kharai
Shravid varahostra kharai.
samstuta purusha pashu
Namsuta purusha pashuhu.
nayat karna patho peto
Nayat karna pathopeto.
jatu nama gadagrajah.
Jatu nama gadagrajaha.
Okay, please read the translation.
Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer from evils.
The deliverer from evils. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. Now you can see here in Srimad Bhagavatam, as you would notice, in this particular section, Srimad Bhagavatam is very strong in its words. It is almost saying that people who don't hear Harikatha are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. And calling people dogs, hogs, camels, asses, it's not a very polite business, a very polite affair. So let us understand here the nature of instructions given in Srimad Bhagavatam can be categorized into three types. So Bhagavatam teaches like a guru, Bhagavatam also teaches like a friend, and Bhagavatam also teaches like a lover. So you will find verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which can be categorized into these three categories. What does it mean? When we say Bhagavatam teaches like a guru, now guru is a very heavy personality. Guru has the authority over his disciples, and guru can also chastise the disciples. Guru can also scold them, rebuke them, because if the disciples are not paying attention, disciples are lazy, disciples are careless in their learning, etc., Guru has the authority to chastise the disciple. So Srimad Bhagavatam also sometimes becomes or teaches like a guru. So you can see here the language used in Srimad Bhagavatam is very graphic, very bold, very strong. Calling people dogs, hogs, camels, asses, it's not very pleasant. So here Bhagavatam is using those words mainly because to jolt us out from our slumber. If we are careless in our spiritual life, so these harsh words can jolt us, can shake us out of our laziness, out of our carelessness towards spiritual life. So like that, this section we should read this section in that spirit. And you will find that this kind of discussion will continue from 19th and verse onwards till all the way till 25th verse. So here, men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. So Prabhupada, in order to explain this verse, has given a very beautiful purport. He has utilized the qualities of these animals mainly to explain the nature of the material world that we live in. And he has explained about who is a dog, who is a hog, who is a camel, who is ass, and what kind of people can be compared to asses. So first of all, he explained that who are people uh, uh, that can be equated with dogs. So here, Prabhupada says that the dogs are sometimes those people who are modernly educated people. So he has used this analogy of dog to criticize modern education and people who are taking to modern education. Why? When people take to this modern education, they go to schools, colleges, they get big degrees and so on. For what? Mainly to get a job, mainly to serve a master. Like a dog is very faithful to the master, and master throws away some few pieces of bread to the dog so that the dog remains happy throughout the life, like that. So that is what modern education does. Modern education does not have any spiritual content, any content that can free us from this cycle of birth and death. So this modern education make us like a dog. Like a dog, we go to a master. The master throw us some pieces of bread. We take those bread. We feel happy, and like that, the business continues. So this is how the first analogy Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport. Then the second analogy. So here we have hogs. So hog is something like an animal which eat very dirty, very filthy things like eating stool. Uh, Now, why he has compared it to hogs? Because we see a lot of people around us, they are not at all scrupulous or they are not at all very wise when they choose the food, the kind of food they eat. Why the food is very important? Because food is a very important part in a spiritualist, in a transcendentalist life, in a life of a person who is actually trying and practicing for some spiritual benefit. So we as devotees like to eat vegetarian food. Not only vegetarian food, actually we like to cook the food in devotion for the Lord, offer the food as a bhoga, and then after waiting for some time, when the Lord has uh, converted that food into his mercy, into his prasad, we take prasad. And then when we take prasad, it helps us grow spiritually. It nourishes our soul. It nourishes our finer tissues of the brain. By doing so, we are able to understand deep, subtle spiritual messages and so on. So that is why another category of people is criticizing Srimad Bhagavatam is criticizing is hogs. And why? Because they don't discriminate on type of food that they eat. Then comes the third animal, which is camel. What is so special about camel? Camel like to eat thorny bushes. He enjoys eating thorny bushes. Now, what happens when he eats thorny bushes? The thorns in the bushes cut the tongue of the camel, and the blood comes out from the tongue. The camel, while eating those thorny bushes, tastes its own blood, and he finds and he enjoy very much when he tastes his own blood. Now, what is it compared to by Prabhupada when it comes to the material world? It is something like these are the people who enjoy family life, who enjoy worldly life. And why? Why the comparison like this? Because in this world, maintaining a family life, maintaining a family is a very painful affair. It is a very painful affair. But the people who are uh, into family life, they continue to maintain their family life. They continue to bear those painful experiences and so on by working very hard, not only working hard, but working hard by questionable means also. And when they earn money by questionable means, they get some reaction also. They might sometimes get punished. They might sometimes get caught by the law, etc., etc. So not only when they work hard, they feel pain. Not only when they use unscrupulous means, they also feel pain. So this is like something like enjoying the family life with pain. Similarly to a camel who enjoys thorny bushes, enjoys his own blood, and considering that he's actually doing a very good job. So that is the state of affair for people who are like camels. Then comes the fourth category, which is asses. Now, whom does Prabhupada compare asses to? He's comparing a henpecked man. Henpecked man means a person who is very much attracted towards his wife. Like in Hindi, we have this word called Joru ka gulam. So wife dictates such person, whether right or wrong, whatever way. He is only simply moving around the wife, fulfilling his desires, obeying his orders, and so on, like that. So that is what ass is compared. So why ass is known as henpecked man compared to a henpecked man? Because ass has two qualities. One is foolish, and then the second quality of ass is that he serves a washerman. And how does he serve the washerman? The washerman kicks the ass, and the ass continues to do the job for the washerman. Similarly, this henpecked man, Joruko Galam, is kicked by the wife. The henpecked man, the husband, tries to approach the wife for enjoying sexual life, but the wife actually kicks this person, and he tolerates, he bears the kicking of the wife, but still continue to serve the wife like a henpecked man. So similarly, a ass is kicked by the washerman, but the washerman gives some few carrots, some few food to eat, and then simply because of that, the ass continues to serve the master. So like that, we have four qualities, four kind of mentalities being reflected by Prabhupada in his purport, that what is a dog-like mentality, what is a hog-like mentality, what is a camel-like mentality, and what is a ass-like mentality. So these are the people who kind of continue to enjoy modern education or dirty, filthy food or very difficult family life, or maybe very, I would say, a life of henpecked man in the form of an ass. That is the kind of life they are trying to enjoy, but they have no time to listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, which can actually deliver them from all evils. So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam, in very strong words, is criticizing people of different materialistic bent of mind and so on. So that was the 19th verse. We could not complete this explanation previous time in the previous class. So that is what we have done now. Now we move to the 20th verse. Now what we will see in the 20th verse, the same discussion continues, the discussion in a similar way continues forward. But here, what Shaunaka Rishi is saying is, he is giving comparison of limb by limb description of an animalistic person. Whom does he call an animalistic person? He is calling an animalistic person to such a person uh, who is not interested in spiritual life. Like an animal, he is only interested in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And that is the only business people in general in the world, in the material world today are doing. And according to Srimad Bhagavatam, they are animalistic in nature. As I mentioned, it's a very strong word, but that is what Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to do, speaking strong words so that we are jolted out of our laziness, out of our carelessness towards spiritual life. So Rakesh ji, please read verse number 20th translation so that I can explain a little bit more about it. Yeah.
One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog.
Hmm. So you can see here, I have shown some pictures also here. So I have shown a frog sticking out its tongue. I have also shown a snake who's trying to enter into a snake hole. So here there are two senses involved described in this particular verse. First of all, who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead? So who has not listened? So what he has been compared to? His ears are like ear holes, like the holes of snakes. Ear holes are like the holes of snake. And then the second comparison is, so this is about the faculty of hearing, and faculty of hearing is coming from the ears. So hearing and ears. Then the second is something to do with speaking. Has not sung or chanted loudly. What is it like? It's a tongue of, like a tongue of a frog. Tongue of a frog, like this. So two faculties are being discussed here. Practically talking about Shravanam and Kirtanam. Shravanam is something to do with hearing, and Kirtanam is something to do with speaking. So one who does not do Shravanam of Hari Katha, his ear holes are like snake holes. Snake holes. Now, snake is a very, I would say, a very vicious animal, a very vicious reptile. So when you think about snake, you think of somebody who is very jealous, who is very cunning, who is very dangerous, who is very venomous, like that. So people who don't engage their ears into hearing Harikatha are typically interested in hearing something like venomous subjects, subjects which are criticizing somebody, subject matter which are kind of spewing venom against somebody, like that. So that is how the subject matter of, or the faculty of hearing is compared to. Then the second comparison is uh, uh, people who don't utilize their tongue for chanting, for glorifying, for singing the Lord's name has been compared to the tongue of a frog. And what is so special about the tongue of a frog? The speciality of the tongue of a frog is mainly the frog croaks whenever there is a winter season, or sorry, rainy season. You will see a lot of frogs will come out and they will start to croak. And why would a frog croak? Frog generally croak for finding a she frog so that he can enjoy with the she frog. But ultimately, what happens is that the croaking of the frog may not be heard by the she frog, but may be heard by a snake. And the snake here represents time. The snake comes and eats away the frog. So the croaking of the frog only attracts snakes, which eats the frog. Similarly, people, those who are speaking subject matter which is not related with Hari Katha, which is only related with mundane politics, mundane discussions, mundane subject matter of this worldly affairs and so on, and they are only wasting their time. The time is getting wasted by doing these activities. And with the wastage of time, the death of such a person is coming near and near and near. And he will lose the opportunity ultimately to elevate his consciousness spiritually, transcendentally, etc. So like that, like that, these two analogies have been given. Prabhupada also gives another very strong analogy in the purport. He's saying that the tongue actually is compared here to a prostitute. Like a prostitute continues to cater to the needs of various customers without any scrupulous selection of any person. Similarly, worldly people continues to discuss about many things which does not elevate their consciousness. So rather than acting like a prostitute, our tongue should act like a chaste wife who would only be faithful and loyal to one husband, and that's all. So like that, with such strong analogies and strong comparisons, Srimad Bhagavatam is uh, uh, trying to urge to us that let us not waste our time like a frog, or let us not waste our time like a person who is not listening to Harikatha, and continue to elevate ourselves by listening to Harikatha. So this was 20th verse, where two limbs, ears and tongue, have been compared to ear have been compared to snake holes, and tongue has been compared to a tongue of a frog. Okay, let us go to the 21st verse.
The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hari.
Now here, you will see here in the previous verse, we talked about two activities of Shravanam and Kirtanam. Here we are talking about two more activities, devotional activities. One is bowing down before the personality of God. Bowing down before the personality of God, it means like we are going to the temple, we are praying to the Lord, we are actually paying our pranams, paying our dandavat pranams to the Lord. So that is one activity. Then the second activity is if we go to the temple, maybe we are not engaged in doing vandana or doing pranams to the Lord, but here we can also be engaged in doing some service in the temple, maybe cleaning the temple, washing the temple, or maybe doing some any other services in the temple. So, and how are they being compared? They are being compared by the upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti. Now, what does silk turban represents here? Silk turban represents somebody who is very opulent. Now, ordinary people or a very poor people cannot wear silk turban. So, silk turban can be afforded only by those who are rich people. Now, what happens with the rich people? The mentality of rich people is that we are well-to-do people. We don't need anybody's help. We are well placed in our life, and so on. And why do we need any external help of praying to the Lord, asking Him for some benediction, asking Him for some favor to us? Why? Why do we need that? We don't need that. We are actually very opulent. We are well-to-do. We are well placed in our life. So why do we need to go to temple? Why do we need to do all this bowing down to the Lord, etc., etc.? So this is silk turban is representing the mentality of the rich people. So Prabhupada or Srimad Bhagavatam here is saying that it is like a heavy burden. Heavy burden. Now, what does heavy burden means? So Prabhupada is saying that if we if we are very opulent, very rich, etc., and we are very proud of our richness, we are very proud of our opulent, then it is like a burden. So what happens? Imagine that a person is drowning in a river. So if a person is having some weight in his hand or weight attached to the body, will he drown faster or slower? He will drown faster, isn't it? So the point being made here is that people who are rich, who are very callous, who are very insulated towards subject matter of spirituality, etc., they will actually drown faster compared to a person who is not so rich. Why? Because of their pride, because of their high-headedness of their opulence, or maybe education also. Sometimes people who are very educated, who are very scientifically advanced, scientifically very gifted or educated, they also think that why do we need God? because they are very proud of their education, of their qualification. So Prabhupada is saying, or Bhagavatam is saying, that it is like heavy burden. They will drown in the ocean of material existence faster compared to those people who are not very opulent or not very highly educated. So that is one comparison given in this verse. Then the second comparison is, hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man. So uh, we understand now who can afford glittering bangles. Again, somebody who is very highly placed, who is very opulent, that person only can be compared to or can afford to have very glittering bangles of gold or diamond, etc. So Prabhupada in the purport gives the example of King Pratap Rudra. So King Pratap Rudra was the king of Odisha, and every year in the Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra, the king would come in front of the chariot of the Lord and will sweep the road. So sweeping is considered to be a very humble service, taken up primarily by those category of people who come to a lower socio-economic category of the society. Now, if somebody is sweeping the street and he's a king, that means a lot. So, if a person who is as highly placed as a king in a society, if he can come down to street and sweep in front of the Lord's chariot, then that is considered to be a very great service. So here, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is saying that King Pratap Rudra swept in the Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra. Similarly, a wife of a rich person having glittering bangles must certainly engage herself in some service of the Lord. So otherwise, if she or somebody like that does not engage in the service of the personality of Godhead, so those hands, although they are decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man. So, like again, in a very strong words, Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to encourage us to engage in some service of the Lord. So we see in verse number 20, Shravanam and Kirtanam. In verse number 20, 21, we see the activity of bowing down before the Lord, offering our pranams, and also some service to the in the temple of the Lord, or maybe to the devotees of the Lord, like that. Now we go to the 22nd verse.
The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places, where the Lord is remembered, are considered to be like tree trunks.
So we see again two more limbs have been elaborated here. One limb is eye, the other limb is legs. So what do we use our eye for? We use our eyes for seeing something. Now, generally, we like to see something which is maybe very beautiful, very charming, very attractive, like that. But here, Bhagavatam is encouraging us to look not only at mundane sights, mundane sightseeing, etc., but typically we should use our eyes to have the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is encouraging us for deity worship. So what do we do in deity worship? In deity worship, we decorate the deity with beautiful dresses. We decorate the deity with beautiful ornaments, with beautiful flowers, with beautiful decorations around the altar, etc. And when we do that decoration and we look at that decoration, we feel very satisfied. Our eyes become very spiritualized. Our consciousness become very spiritualized. So that is the activity of the eyes that we should do. So it is saying that if the eyes which are not looking at the symbolic representation of the personality of Godhead, for example, form, name, quality, etc., are those which are printed on the plumes of the peacock. So you see the plume of the peacock. You see these sections which are very colorful. So simply they are colorful if they are not engaged it is something like a colorful eye. If these eyes are not engaged in the darshan of the Lord, engaged in the deity worship of the Lord. Prabhupada, while explaining this point in the purport, also gives another point, adds another point. He's saying that not only book knowledge is sufficient for our spiritual advancement, we need some practical engagement also. And deity worship is one such practical engagement, specifically for those people who are in household life, who are grastas. So only bookish knowledge does not help us in spiritually advancing. But when we engage our senses in some service, in some activity, for example, some deity worship, then our consciousness becomes spiritualized, and that help us advance in our spiritual life, like that. So this was to do with the eyes. Then comes the function of the legs. Now, what can we do with the legs? What do we use legs for? We use legs for walking. Walking means we use legs for going from one place to the another place. These days, sometimes we don't use legs much. We sometimes use motor car, or maybe aeroplane, or maybe uh, trains, etc., etc. Different vehicles we use for going from one place to another. But if we are using these facilities, legs, motor cars, airplanes, trains, etc., only for going for some mundane sightseeing, then and we are not using our legs for going to holy places where the Lord is remembered, then our legs are considered to be like tree trunks. Tree trunks. Now, what is the specialty of tree trunk? Tree trunk remains at one place forever in its life. It does not move. So similarly, if we are not using our legs to go to holy places where the Lord is remembered, we are stagnant in our spiritual journey. We are not moving forward in our spiritual journey. We might think that we are moving different places, but sorry to say, from the spiritual perspective, we are only stagnant at that moment, at that particular point in our life. We are not moving ahead. Our spiritual journey is kind of halted. It is not moving. It is not moving anywhere. So that is how these two analogies have been given, one for eyes, plumes of the peacock, and the second one is for the legs, which is like a tree trunk. So like this, by giving different analogies, Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to encourage us to engage in some kind of a devotional service. Okay, 23rd Prabhu.
The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing.
Although breathing. So although breathing. Now, Prabhupada in the purport says that what do you understand about breathing dead body? A dead body who is breathing is considered like a ghost. एक भूत है, एक भूत प्रेत है वो. And what is the speciality of a ghost? The speciality of a ghost is that it only creates fearful situation. It only creates fearful situation. So people who are who do not pay respects to the pure devotee of the Lord, who do not appreciate the importance of association with the pure devotee of the Lord, are like dead bodies. Because they kind of creates fearful situation. They kind of create fearful situation, and they do not appreciate the pure devotee of the Lord like that. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that before we appreciate the Lord, we must learn to appreciate the pure devotees of the Lord. Why? He gives an example. He says that before you love me, love my dog. What does it mean? Like if a man is attracted to a woman, and a woman has a pet dog, then what is expected? If you want to please this woman, this lady, you first of all need to become a friendly with the dog. When you are friendly with the dog, then you make some space in the heart of that lady, and then it becomes easier to make friendship with that lady, like that. So what does it mean in this context? A pure devotee of the Lord is like a dog of the Supreme Lord. Why? like a dog is very faithful to his master, the pure devotee of the Lord is faithful, always faithful to the Lord. So like that. So first of all, if you want to make space in the heart of the Lord, we first of all need to learn how to make space in the heart of a pure devotee of the Lord. If we are not able to do it, we are like breathing dead bodies. We are like ghosts, creating only fearful situation for our spiritual journey. We are not advancing anywhere. Again, once we are able to learn how to make space in the heart of a pure devotee of the Lord, then comes the next stage. We can appreciate the activities that we do with the Lord. So once we have mastered the art of appreciating and pleasing the pure devotee of the Lord, then only we can think of pleasing the Lord Himself, and how we can how we can please the Lord Himself by offering various devotional service. Not only we will be able to please the Lord, but also we will be able to experience the pleasure that one may derive from the devotional service. And here what is mentioned, and the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord, also a dead body. So if we continue to offer tulsi leaves to the Supreme Lord, always the tulsi leaves is offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, and there is a very fragrant aroma that emanates from that tulsi leaf. We will not be able to appreciate that aroma if we are not able to appreciate the pure devotee of the Lord. So this is the rough purport that Srila Prabhupada has given about the 23rd verse. So we move next. Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Certainly, that heart is a steel frame which, in spite of once chanting the holy names of the Lord with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and the hairs stand on end.
Now you will see that verse number 20, 21, 22, 23. So which are the limbs that have been covered? So we see the limbs that have been covered are ear, tongue, nose, eyes, legs, hand. So these are the limbs have been covered, various devotional service. Now, in this 24th verse, Srimad Bhagavatam is taking us to another level. Here, we are talking about the mind. So mind is that faculty which is actually connected with all the five senses. So all the five senses take input from the outside world, collects it, and then submits it before the mind. So for example, my eyes are seeing some gulab jamun. So eyes will see gulab jamun, the nose will smell the aroma of the gulab jamun, and immediately these two senses will submit the response to the mind. The mind, and with the proposal, oh dear mind, let us enjoy this gulab jamun, like this. So here, in this 24th verse, the faculty that is being talked about here is the mind. Like we are saying here, the heart. Certainly, that heart is steel framed, which, in spite of once chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place, tears fill the eyes, and the hairs stand on end. So this is talking about little bit about a very advanced stage in devotional service, which is called the bhava stage. So what happens in the bhava stage is that the practitioner or the sadhak starts to show devotional symptoms through the body. Devotional symptoms means while chanting the holy name, his eyes will be filled with tears, or there will be romanch. There will be the hair on the body will stand erect. They will stand on their end. Similarly, there are other different symptoms given in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, like maybe the voice may be failing, the sadhaka may be fainting, and then there will be some trembling and so on. So there are different symptoms given in the bhava stage for a sadhaka when he advances to in devotional life. So bhava is one stage just before prema. So this is what mentioned here, that when we take into the chanting of the holy names, when we chant the names of the Lord, then we expect that there should be some transformation happening in the heart. If this transformation is not happening, then Srimad Bhagavatam is saying that that heart is steel framed. That heart is steel framed. Srila Prabhupada in the purport gives elaborate discussion from Sri Bhakti Samrat Sindhu. Is saying that sometimes these symptoms are external in the advanced devotees, but sometimes non-devotees may take advantage and start to show or fake these symptoms, like tears coming from the eyes, hair standing on end, and so on. So we should not actually get confused because these symptoms are there. That is not certainly a foolproof evidence that a devotee or a sadhaka is a pure devotee of the Lord. Rather, we should see some other symptoms which are more proving or an evidence that a sadhaka is actually at a bhava platform. So Prabhupada mentions from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that such a devotee will be always be engaged in the service of the Lord, will not waste any single moment. He will always have a natural attraction towards the places of the Lord, like that. So it's a long purport that Srila Prabhupada has given. So using this shloka, Srila Prabhupada has given the symptoms of devotee in the bhava stage. Why these symptoms are not complete evidence that devotee is a pure devotee, and what are those symptoms which actually can prove that a devotee is a pure devotee. So that kind of a description has been given in the purport, which probably you can read. We have already covered those discussions in our Bhakti Samrat Sindhu class, so we'll not go into the elaborate detail. But suffice it to say, from verse number 21, 22, 23, and 24, there has been an analogy that if our limbs are not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, eyes not engaged in deity worship, ears not engaged in hearing Harikatha, nose is not hearing in smelling the tulsi leaves emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, and then our hands are not engaged in the service of the Lord, our legs are not engaged in the going to the holy places of the Lord, like that, our mind is not engaged in hearing the holy name of the Lord, and so on, then it is a very sad affair. It is a very sad affair. And with strong words, Srimad Bhagavatam is encouraging us to take to the devotional service of the Lord. So with this, we come to the last verse of this particular chapter. Rakesh ji, please read.
O Sud Goswami, your words are pleasing to our minds. Please therefore explain this to us as it was spoken by the great devotee Shukdev Goswami, who is very expert in transcendental knowledge and who spoke to Maharaj Parikshit upon being asked.
So once again, Sud Goswami is repeating, Shaunak Rishi is repeating to Sud Goswami that, my dear sir, two devotees would have certainly discussed something very nice about Harikatha. So although we had asked you those questions in the first canto, and you have already answered those questions in complete detail, elaborate detail, but please don't stop here. Kindly continue this nectar which you have started for our benefit. Please don't stop here. And that's how the chapter number 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, concludes. With that, we move to the fourth chapter. The topic of the fourth chapter is process of creation. Process of creation. So we will try to cover first 4 verses. We will not be able to do till 10. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, first 4 verses we will try to cover in today's class. With that, I would like to invite Jeevan Prabhu to help me recite and read the text. But before that, we'll give you a little overview map of this chapter. So Sud Goswami now describes what happens next. So Shaunak Rishi in the previous chapter have elaborately glorified the process of devotional service, and now it is Sud Goswami's turn to respond back to Shaunak Rishi. So these first 4 verses we will discuss, and then Parikshit Maharaj will ask more questions from Shukdev Goswami, and Shukdev Goswami will then start to elaborate on the questions that Parikshit Maharaj would ask. So we first of all do the discussion of the first 4 chapters. Yes, Jeevan Prabhu, please Read this.
Hare Krishna. Number one, focus. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaja Parikshit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the speeches of Sukadeva Goswami, which were all about the truth of the self, applied his concentration faithfully, Satim, upon the Lord Krishna.
Now, Sud Goswami started the discussion. He is saying that Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the speeches of Shukdev Goswami, which was all about the truth of the self, applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Krishna. So the important message in this verse is applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Krishna. And you can summarize this into one theme called focus. So Shukdev Goswami was narrating, Parikshit Maharaj was listening so far, and Shukdev Goswami answered Parikshit Maharaj's question. He says that hearing about the Lord, chanting about the Lord, and remembering about the Lord. These are the three activities which a person in general should do throughout his life, which a person who is about to die should do in his at the time of his death. The message was very clear. And Parikshit Maharaj immediately took that message to his heart. And this is reflected in this verse that applied his concentration faithfully, Satim, upon Lord Krishna. Applied his concentration faithfully. So focus. Immediately he became very, very focused on the topic subject matter of Lord Krishna. Now here we will discuss what briefly discuss what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport. Srila Prabhupada in the purport has focused on this word called Satim. So in the Sanskrit verse number 1 of the 4th chapter, there's a word comes Satim. So what does Satim means? So Satim means chaste. Chaste means faithful. And Prabhupada is elaborating that it completely applies this word faithful or chaste or Satim fully 100% applies to Parikshit Maharaj. How? It applies fully to Parikshit Maharaj because Parikshit Maharaj was a person who was attracted towards Lord Krishna right from the womb. Right from the womb, when he was in the womb of his mother Uttara, Lord Krishna came, appeared there, and protected him from Brahmastra, that Ashwathama unhurled on him. So he was attracted to Lord Krishna right from the womb. And then, because he was attracted to Lord Krishna from the womb, he was very, very naturally devoted to the Supreme Lord. So already he had that kind of impression from his childhood. And now, when he heard this message from Shukdev Goswami that Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavya, you chant about the Lord, you hear about the Lord, you remember the Lord, his conviction, his attraction towards Lord Krishna further strengthened. And that is being reflected in this particular verse, that he applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Shri Krishna. Prabhupada in the purport further elaborates. He says that if somebody wants to become a devotee, there are two things which are required. One is that a person must take birth in the family of devotees. And the second one is that he should get some blessings from the spiritual master. So both things happened with Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj took birth in the family of Pandavas, who were themselves very great devotees of the Lord. And then, by the mercy of the Lord, he got a very nice spiritual master in the form of Shukdev Goswami. So, when we get the mercy of the Lord, we get a spiritual master. And when we get the mercy of the spiritual master, we get the Lord. So, it is both ways. So, here we see in Parikshit Maharaj's case, it did not happen that Parikshit Maharaj, when he heard that curse from that Brahmana boy that cursed him, and he is about to die in 7 days, he immediately came to the bank of river Ganges. And there was no special arrangement that Shukdev Goswami was called. There was some communication, there was some telephone call or some email that was sent to Shukdev Goswami that please, my 7 days are coming near. please come and enlighten me about Harikatha. No. Shukdev Goswami was inspired by the Lord from within. And because Lord understood that a sincere soul wants to hear about me, so he inspired Shukdev Goswami, and it by will of providence, now Shukdev Goswami reached that place and the Harikatha was discussed together with Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj had both the opportunities in his life. He took birth in the family of devotees and he also had the blessing of a genuine spiritual master in the form of Shukdev Goswami. So that is how he became very, very focused when he heard that message of Shukdev Goswami that Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavya about Lord Krishna is the goal of life. So we move to the second verse. Yes, Prabhu. This is now a verse that we will recite. Atmajaya Sutagara
Atmajaya Sutagara
Pashu Dravina Bandhushu
Pasu Dravina Bandhushu
Rajye Cha Vikale Nityam
Rajye Chavikale Nityam
Virudham Mamatam Jaho.
Viruna Mamatam Jaho.
Okay. Now, this the second verse is talking about the detachment that Parikshit Maharaj developed. So the previous verse was about he started to focus on Lord Krishna. Besides focusing, he also became very detached. Detached from whom? Detached from various things. Now, Prabhuji, please read this.
Maharaja Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisturbed kingdom. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Undisputed kingdom. Yeah. So, detachment also came in the consciousness of Parikshit Maharaj. Now, Prabhupada gives a very interesting purport, and you will see that the way this verse have been organized, the sequence of things that is mentioned here, from which Parikshit Maharaj took detachment, are very logically connected. So let us first of all reflect a little bit on the verse. Atma. Atma means, sometimes we hear the meaning of the word Atma as soul, but the meaning of the word Atma used here in this particular verse is related to the body. So in Sanskrit language, one word does not mean only one meaning. So one Sanskrit word could have multiple meanings. Like for example, we say mobile. Now mobile could, in the today's sense, can also be used for cell phone, or mobile can also be used to indicate that somebody is able to move. He's mobile. But mobile also means mobile phone. Like this, the word Atma also has several meanings, like soul or mind, or sometimes it is also used as for body. So Atma here means body. Jaya. Now you see here, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body. So Atma here means body. Then Jaya. Jaya means wife. Then Suta. Suta means children. Then Agar. Agar means his palace. Then Pashu. Pashu means animals like horses, elephants, etc. Dravina. Dravina means money, treasury house. Bandhushu. Bandhushu means friends, relatives, etc. And Rajya. Rajya means his undisputed kingdom. So, detachment from his body, detachment from wife, detachment from children, palace, animals, treasury house, and friends and relatives. So Prabhupada makes a very interesting purport here. He says that we have detachments from our body, and he first of all starts to explain the purport by explaining the word Dehatma Buddhi. Dehatma Buddhi means a mind or a intelligence which is only connected and attached to the deha. Deha means body. So here connecting with body actually means not only this physical body, but also those things which are connected with this body. Also those things which are connected with this body. For example, what does it mean? Things that are connected with this body. Sometimes when we see on road, there is a car accident. Now, if the car does not belong to us, it does not pain us when we see a car accident. Now, there is a car accident that has happened on the road, and when we pass by, we don't feel any pain. But for example, maybe our friend has taken our car, and maybe he has done some accident on the road while driving. And when he calls us, sir, I am very sorry, but your car has got damaged due to some accident. Immediately we feel pain. Why? Because we consider that car to be ours. As if somebody has hurt us on our body. We feel the same kind of pain. So Dehatma Buddhi means not only our own body, but also the objects which are deeply connected with the body. Now, how does it happen? We can understand from the description that is given in the Bhagavatam verse. So, deep-rooted affection for his personal body. And wife is one such person in our life which is actually very closely connected with our body. So we get married, we get a wife, or a wife get a husband, or a lady get a husband. So the relationship between the husband and a wife is such a close-knit relationship that they are sometimes considered that okay, they are actually one person only, as if one single unit only. So with our body, in order to give satisfaction to our body, we do marriage, and a wife comes in our life. When a wife comes in our life, then a result of this marriage is children. So you see how this description is connected. Personal body, from body comes wife, and from this marriage comes the children. Now, when there is a family, you need some house to live in. Then the palace, then comes the house. And when there is a house, we need to go out, we need to be mobile. And then comes Pashu. Pashu means animals like horses and elephants. In today's modern context, you can call it maybe scooter, car, etc., etc. for our transport and so on. And all this transportation, house, maintaining a family, all this requires money. So treasury house. And then in order to have money, once we have money, once we have house, once we have family, children, wife, we want to show off all what we have to the society at large, to our friends, to our relatives. And then we have his friends and relatives. And then this is like our undisputed kingdom. This whole business is like our undisputed kingdom. So in the previous verse, we understood that Maharaj Parikshit, after hearing from Shukdev Goswami, became very focused. And here the second effect that came on Shukdev Goswami was he became very detached. He became very detached. So what Srila Prabhupada further explains in the purport is that how this detachment could come to Parikshit. Very easily, simply by hearing this message from Shukdev Goswami, he became very quickly a very detached person. It is mainly because Parikshit Maharaj is deeply attached to Lord Krishna. So the more we attach to Lord Krishna, the more we come close to Lord Krishna, the more we become attracted to Lord Krishna, the more our detachment from the worldly things increase. The more we become detached from the worldly things. So devotional service or bhakti yoga is nothing but practicing to understand that everything actually belongs to the Lord. Everything belongs to the Lord. Our wife, our children, our palace, our transport system, our money, our everything that we possess actually belongs to the Lord. So the moment we have this consciousness, the moment we have this realization, detachment develops in our life. And that detachment helps us to conquer situations like what Parikshit Maharaj is facing, death. Devotional service also instill within us a higher taste, a superior taste. And because of that superior taste, we feel distasteful of all these activities which are material in nature. So again, because of that higher taste, detachment comes. Now, when we see in the life of a devotee, we see that a devotee in a householder life, we also see a devotee as a renunciant. Now here we see in case of Parikshit Maharaj, he is a householder. He's a householder, he's having a wife, he's having a children, he's having treasury, he's having a palace and so on. He is having a lot of possessions. Although he is having a lot of possessions, but still while having those possessions, he's still detached. He's not attached to all those things. Why? Because of his attraction towards the Lord, while being in the family life also, a devotee can become detached. And similarly, a devotee like Shukdev Goswami, who is a renunciant, but he is also a detached person because of attraction towards the Lord. So we can see that people who are devotees, who are attached to Lord Krishna, may have different types of life, but within their heart, they are completely detached. So devotee maybe with family and kingdom can also be detached, and a devotee without family and without kingdom can also be detached. And this happens mainly because we become attracted towards the Lord, and that is how we become detached. Okay, we go to the third and fourth, and the final verse for today's class. Yes, Prabhu. Please read. Jivan Prabhu, you need to unmute.
Sorry. 03 to 04, renunciation. Oh, great sages, the great soul Maharaja Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, dharma, economic development, artha, and sense gratification, kama, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me.
So this is now, this particular verse is about renunciation of Parikshit Maharaj. First verse about focus, second verse about detachment, and now the third and fourth is talking about renunciation. And renunciation from what? The dharma, artha, and kama. Dharma, artha, and kama. You see the triangle that I have given here? Dharma, artha, and kama. So how do we understand this particular verse? So you can see that when the living entity or Jivatma, when it comes to this material world, typically gets attracted towards these two activities, artha and kama. Artha, what does artha means? Artha means earning money. Earning money for what? Earning money for satisfying some desires. Desires for some enjoyment, desires for sense enjoyment, desires for many other things that a living entity might have. And when the living entity does it in a dharmic way, that is actually known as karma kandiya mentality, karma kandiya activities. So although we are devotees, we know Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. are the activities which we should do. But in general, people who are not devotees, typically they are attracted towards dharma, artha, and kama. By doing dharma, artha, and kama, they are trying to gain material prosperity. The living entity in general in this world is very much attracted to activities of material prosperity. So they are doing it in a dharmic way. So they are sometimes known as karma kandiya activities, which are mainly geared towards enjoying material prosperity. But ultimately, we must understand that unless and until artha, kama, and dharma leads us to moksha, then these activities are simply waste of time. These are not very useful activities in that sense. So Parikshit Maharaj, who was a king, he was also doing these kind of activities in the kingdom. Because in the kingdom, you need artha. In the kingdom, you need to satisfy the material needs of the people, so kama. And he was doing in a dharmic way by doing some yagyas and so on. So he was also doing all these karma kandi activities in his kingdom. But as soon as he understood that his death is coming close, he immediately packed up. He immediately became renounced from all these activities and ultimately took to the hearing of the pastimes of Lord Krishna from Shukdev Goswami on the bank of river Ganges. Ultimately, what this verse is trying to say is that although there are activities of dharma, artha and kama, but if activities of dharma, artha and kama does not develop attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, then these activities of artha, kama and dharma are simply waste of time. Simply waste of time. So that is the message that this verse is giving, and Prabhupada has given a very long purport to this verse. And he has explained this particular point by quoting several verses from other parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam and other devotees also. So first of all, let us chant some of those verses. And for that, let me invite Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. So Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, yeah.
Yes.
Now, can you recognize the meter in this verse?
Oh my God. I'll try. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. I think this is Vasanta Tilaka.
Very good. Vasanta Tilaka. You are right.
Vasanta Tilaka.
So Vasanta Tilaka. So there are
13,
14 vowels. 14
Yeah,
vowels
14,
would
yeah.
mean Vasanta Tilaka. So which is the reference verse we use for reciting Vasanta Tilaka?
Brahma Samhita.
Brahma
Brahma
Samhita.
Samhita.
Okay, can you recite one line of any verse of Brahma Samhita?
Govindam Adipurusham Siddham Bhajami.
Venu Panantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham.
Taksham.
Okay, so now you are set. Dharmartha Kama Itiyo Bhita Trivarga.
Dharmartha Kama Tiyo Bhita Trivarga.
Namo Vividha Chavarta.
Niksha Prahina Yadamo Vividhaja Vata.
Manye Tadetadakhilam Nigamasya Satyam.
Manye Tadetat Achilam Nigamasya Satyam.
Swatmarpanam Swasuhrada Paramasya Pumsaha.
Swatmal Panam Swastu Vida Paramasya Pumsaha.
Very good. Okay. Now please read the translation here.
Yeah. Religion, economic development, and sense gratification. These are described in the Vedas as three vargas, or the three ways to salvation. Within these three categories are education and self-realization, ritualistic ceremonies performed according to Vedic injunctions, logic, the science of law and order, and the various means of earning one's livelihood. There are external subject matters of study in the Vedas, and therefore I consider them material. However, I consider surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu to be transcendental.
To be transcendental. So what did we discuss in this verse? I will remind you. We discussed in this verse that Parikshit Maharaj, on hearing the message from Shukdev Goswami, immediately renounced from Dharma, Artha and Kama. Dharma and Artha and Kama. So the message is that hearing about the Lord, chanting about the Lord, and remembering about the Lord is much more at a higher platform compared to the activities of Dharma, Artha and Kama. That is the message that we get from this verse. Now, Prabhupada is quoting different verses from different places to elaborate upon that point. And this particular verse has been spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that Dharma, Artha and Kama, religion, economic development and sense gratification, these are described in the Vedas as Trivarga, or three ways to salvation. Three ways to salvation means from Dharma, Artha and Kama, our goal is mainly to move towards moksha, salvation. So this is the picture that we see here. dharma and artha and kama. And while we do it in a dharmic way, our main purpose is mainly to elevate and move towards moksha, liberation. So this is what in the first line it means. Then iksha trayi naya damau vividha cha varta. Now while we are doing this dharma, artha and kama, what are the further different activities that we perform as part of practicing dharma and kama? So here the second line says iksha. Iksha means education and self-realization. Trai means ritualistic ceremonies performed according to Vedic injunction. Naya means logic. Damau means the science of law and order. Vividha here actually talks about various means of earning one's livelihood. So dharma, artha and kama, these activities, the example of these activities are in the second line, which are self-realization, education, ritualistic ceremonies of the Vedas, etc., etc. So this example is given. But in the third line, Prahlad Maharaj says, Manye tad etad akhilam nigamasya satyam. These are the external subject matters of study in the Vedas, and therefore I consider them material. These are only external subject matter. They are not the main purpose of these Vedas. And then the fourth line says, Swat Marpanam Swasuhrada Paramasya Pumsa. Swasuhrada means one who is our best friend, and that is Lord Vishnu. However, I consider surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu to be transcendental. So here is the bottom line, which says that these activities of dharma, artha and kama are external activities. These are at the material platform. These are not at a spiritual platform. However, the activities of surrendering to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu is to be transcendental. Paramasya Pumsa. So this is Swat Marpanam. Surrendering to Swasuhrada is Paramasya. So that is the first verse. Second verse is given by prayer by Madhavendra Puri. So, which is this meter, Mataji? This is a real test.
I'm really bad at it, but I'm going to try. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18,
19 vowels, 19 syllables. So which one is this?
This is exactly like our first loka. Janma
Shardul Vikreditam. Shardul Vikreditam. So the reference verse for that is Janma Dasyato. So can you recite Janma Dasyato first line? Do you remember it?
No.
Okay. So Jivan Prabhu, can you recite?
Janmadasya yataha anvaya itarascha arteshu avijñasparat.
Okay. So yeah, Janmadasya yatonvayadi taratas chartheshva bhigya swarat. Janmadasya yatonvayadi taratas chartheshva bhigya swarat. Like this. Sandhya vandana bhadramastu bhavato bhosnana tubhyam namo. Yes, Mataji, please. Sandhya vandana
bhavatu bhosnana tubhyam namo.
Sandhya vandana bhadramastu bhavato bhosnana tubhyam namo.
Sandhya vandana bhadramastu bhavatu bhosnana tubhyam namo.
Bhodeva pitarascha tarpana vidho naham kshamyatam.
Bhodeva pitarascha tarpanam vidho naham shamyatam.
Yatra kwapi nishatya yadava kulo tamasya kam sadvisha.
Yatra kwapi यत्रा स्वापि निशया यदः पुलो तस्मिषा कामस्विषा
Kamsadvisha.
कंसाद्विषा
Smaram smaramagam harami tadalam manye kim manyena me.
स्मारं स्मारं मदमहरामि तदफलं मन्येति मन्येन मे
Excellent, excellent. So now you can see that how once we recognize the meter, recognize or remember the reference words, recite that reference words for a moment in our mind so that our mind gets tuned to the melody, then we can
Yes.
easily recite Srimad Bhagavatam. We can sing Bhagavatam, right? Okay, please read the word lines, meanings here. Yeah.
O my evening prayers, all good unto you. O my morning bath, I bid you goodbye. O demigods and forefathers, please excuse me. I am unable to perform any more offerings for your pleasure. Now, I have decided to free myself from all reactions to sin simply by remembering anywhere and everywhere the great descendant of Yadu and the great enemy of Kamsa, Lord Krishna. I think that this is sufficient for me. So, what is the use of further endeavors?
What is the use of further endeavors, right? So Madhavendra Puri is saying that Sandhya Vadanam Bhadramastu. Oh, my evening prayer, all good unto you. Bhavato bho snana tubhyam namo. Oh, my morning bath, I bid you goodbye. So, like when you are a Brahmana, then you need to do some Sandhya Vandan. Then you also need to take bath 3 times a day. And then, Bho Deva Pitarascha Tarpana. O demigods and forefathers, please excuse me. I am unable to perform any more offerings for your pleasure. Deva, Pitra. Deva means demigod. Pitra means forefathers. I cannot do tarpan to you. Why I can't do? Because now I have decided to free myself from all reactions to sins simply by remembering anywhere and everywhere the great descendant of Yadu. Yadava Kulottamasya. Yadava Kulottamasya is great descendant of Yadu. And the great enemy of Kamsa, Kamsa Dusha, the killer of Kamsa, Kamsa Dusha. I think that is sufficient for me. So what is the use of further endeavor? Smaram Smaram. So simply remembering Lord Krishna will Agham Harami. Agham Harami means all that sins I have done will actually be removed. All reactions to sins simply by remembering will be removed. So, and that is sufficient for me. Simply remembering Lord Krishna is sufficient for me. I am not interested in doing Sandhya Vandan, my Snan, Tarpan to my forefathers, etc. etc. So, this is the prayer by Madhavendra Puri, where he is glorifying the worship of the Lord and considering all other these dharma, artha, and moksha, dharma, artha, and kama activities to be not so significant. That is what is being mentioned here. So, last verse for today. Yeah. Again, Mataji, this is Shardul Vikredit. So, we will recite it. Muddham mam nigadantu niti nipuna bhrantam muhurvaidika.
Buddham mam vihadantu niti nipuna Grantam muhuravediktaha
Mandam bandhava sanchaya jadadhiyam muktadara sodara.
Mandam bandhava sanchaya jadadhiyam muktadhara sudhara
Unmattam dhanino viveka chatura kamam mahadambhikam.
Mattam dharino vivek chatura kaman maha dambhitam
Moktum nakshamate managapi mano govinda pada spraham.
Muktunna Syamate Mano Mangati Mano Govinda Padatraha.
Now, Mugdham Mam. Yes, Mataji, please read.
Let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusion. I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Friends and relatives may also call me frustrated. My brothers may call me fool. Wealthy Memonides may point me out as mad, and the learned philosophers may assert that I am much too proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination to serve the greatest feat of Govinda, though I am unable to do.
Let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusioned. Illusioned means mukdam. Niti nipuna. Niti means morality. Nipuna means expert in morality. So let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusioned, mukdam. Then I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Muhur Vaidikaha. Vaidika means experts in Vedic activities. Bhrantam, that I am Bhranta, I am actually not very good. Then Mandam Bandhava Sanchaya. Mandam Bandhava Sanchaya. So friends and relatives, friends may call me frustrated. Mandam. Mandam means frustrated or dull. And then Jadadhyam. Muktadara Sodara. Sodara means brothers. Jadadhyam. Jadadhyam means Dhya means intelligence. Jada means dull. So may call me a fool. Jadadhyam, my brothers may call me a fool. Unmattam Dhanino Viveka Chatura. Unmattam Dhanino. Dhanino means very rich. May call me Unmattam as mad. Unmattam means mad. Viveka Chatura. Vivek Chatura means very philosophically learned. Vivek Chatura, Kamam, Maha, Dambhikam. They may call me too much proud. Dambha. Dambha means proud. But still, they may call me whatever they like. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination. Moktum na kshamate managapi mano. My mind does not budge an inch in determination to serve the lotus feet of Govinda. Govinda padas praham. Govinda, though I be unable to do it. Though I be unable to do it. So you can see these are very beautiful verses which are establishing the point that if you have taken to devotional service wholeheartedly, then we need not be attached to activities of dharma, artha, and kama. We need not be automatically the detachment for family, wife, children will develop. That does not mean that we become unaffectionate towards them, but we understand that our higher purpose is mainly to get attached to Lord Krishna. So that is the main message. First of all, Sut Goswami is explaining to the sages of Naimisharanya that on hearing Shukdev Goswami's response, this was the effect on the consciousness of Parikshit Maharaj. He became focused, he became detached, and he became renounced. And that is how Prabhupada in his purports explain all these verses. So we conclude here. All glory to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Any comments you have, we can discuss those now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, please go ahead.
It's a very illuminating class, Prabhuji. Always inspiring. I have one question which does not belong to this class, but from previous classes, like in Canto 1, we discussed that when Parikshit was about to punish Kali, he was left to go to a place where there was gold. So I understand from that gold is something which is not very good. Although
unethical wealth.
Yes.
Unethical wealth.
Yes, opulence. Can we add opulence to it? And my question is that if that wealth is not something which is good, then why should it be collected in temples? God lives there. God lives with the gold, in the vicinity of gold, and people make all sorts of presents in the form of gold, diamond, and all these opulent things. So how do we see whether it is a plus point or a minus point in someone's life when you have too much of it, or suppose you are not able to manage things properly? So does it lead to any kind of confusion in understanding spirituality? I, for one, put it that gold is something which has nothing to do with spirituality. So where do what should be my real understanding of amassing wealth, gold, and all these things in our life?
So Lord Krishna is also known as Lakshmi Pati.
Yes.
Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. And
Yes,
Lord
it is.
Krishna is the Lakshmi Pati, is the owner of Goddess Lakshmi, is the husband of Goddess Lakshmi. So actually the wealth that we have with us, which we are trying to use it for purposes which are not in line with Krishna consciousness or not in line with the teachings and guidelines of the Lord, is actually misuse of the wealth. So when we donate it to the temples, the wealth is actually going back to its original owner, Lakshmi Pati. And the temple activities and the temple authorities utilize that wealth mainly for spreading the message of the Lord, spreading the activities of the temple. Mainly, God consciousness comes from the temple. So temple is something like a central place in a city, in a society, where the society should be centered around. So when we give wealth to the temple in return actually gives back to the society by increasing God consciousness activities that bring God consciousness within the society. So that is the main purpose of that wealth. So the wealth goes back to its original owner, and the original owner utilizes that wealth once again to attract the living entities in the society back to him, and which is the ultimate benefit for them. So that is the whole idea. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
And gold, when we say Kali resides in gold, actually it means unethical wealth, illegal wealth, wealth earned by proper good intentions with proper moral, ethical codes of conduct, etc. Dharmic wealth, that is not unethical wealth. That is ethical wealth. Most of the time you will see that only the unethical wealth is used typically by people for sense gratificatory activities. Wealth that we earn by our hard earned labor generally is not utilized for sinful activities. Generally, we protect that wealth dear to our heart, and that is all. Like you see, you would read Shubh Labh. Sometimes if you visit some business person's office, they typically worship their office and putting some sticker there in the front of that office. That means Shubh Labh. So Vedic philosophy is not against earning profit or against wealth, but that has to be Shubh. Shubha means that has to be earned by some proper, genuine dharmic way, not unethical way, because only dharmic wealth will bring prosperity to our life, not unethical wealth. Wealth earned by bribery, cheating, fraud, and all that, that is stealing, stealing taxes and all that. That is actually called unethical wealth.
Right, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Okay. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much. So we will continue the discussion next Sunday on the same chapter. The chapter is not very big, so we'll aim to finish it very soon. Probably next Sunday we'll finish all the other verses. So please be with us. Thank you very much for your kind presence. Really appreciate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Rakesh.